Yo, book nerds! Today we're going to talk about superiority complexes in readers. Now that sounds like kind of a complicated topic, but don't worry, I'm going to keep it simple. I just want to give my opinion on this and try to stop some of the gatekeeping that happens when it comes to reading. What I mean by superiority complex is I mean that there are some people that love to read that act like they are better than other readers because of what they read. For example, I see this most often in people that only read classics and or only read nonfiction, and those people think that they are better than the people that read fiction, such as literary fiction, romance, manga, fantasy, etc. And that just doesn't sit well with me. I love my classics. I know they're not for everyone. I have definitely cultivated that love over lots of years, and I understand why it's not everyone's cup of tea. I love other fiction. I love nonfiction. I have read some really great ones, but I love fantasy, sci-fi, horror, etc. And I think all books are to be treated equally. And I am so tired of people being like, oh, you're not a real reader because you don't read X, Y, Z. Stop gatekeeping reading. Stop acting like you're better. You're not. And this isn't the only time. Genre isn't the only time I see this happening. I see it happening with people who read physical books over ebooks or audiobooks. I prefer physical books, but just because I read a physical book doesn't make me better than someone who enjoys audiobooks or ebooks. We're all consuming the same story, just in different formats. Yo, book nerds, I have something to add. I was editing this and I realized I didn't say something that I want to say. And I don't have my tripod and the lighting is really bad, so I'm sorry for the shakiness and the lighting. There's also construction going on outside, so I'm sorry that you can probably hear that. But I wanted to say that I also see superiority complexes when it comes to if a reader buys their books versus borrows their books. And you are not better if you are buying your books versus borrowing them from a friend or a library or whatever. Some people don't like to spend their money on books. It's more practical to borrow them. Some people don't have the capability to buy all their books and have to borrow them, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just because you buy your books and display them in your house doesn't make you better. I like to do that because I'm a collector. That's why I do it. But not everyone has that feeling or that need to collect books, but that still makes them a reader. So that needs to stop. So that's all I wanted to add. Okay, bye. And like I said, I'm just really tired of seeing the superiority, the acting like I'm better than you attitude. And I, as someone who's going to be an English teacher, I want students, I want kids to form a love of reading, and these superiority complexes do not help at all. And that's kind of what got me thinking about this whole thing, is because some kids, they do not identify as a reader because they have had bad experiences in school settings, especially when English teachers who are in a position of authority tell them they have to read, say, a classic or a nonfiction, and they don't like it. Some kids like it, other kids don't, many don't. And so then they just kind of write it off as, well, I don't like this book, this quote unquote amazing book that we have to study. We have to study because it's amazing, and I don't like it, so that must mean I'm not a reader. This whole attitude needs to shift. I don't agree with it at all, and it's not the kind of English teacher I want to be. I know as an English teacher, sometimes I will have to teach a class-wide novel, but I would definitely rather students pick their own books that they like and that appeals to them, because that's how you form a love of reading. Reading is reading, and that's what I want to teach to kids, and that's what other adults need to realize. Reading is reading. It doesn't matter what it is. If I want someone to form a love of reading, then they need to choose their own books. Everyone is different. I know that my love of reading was fostered because I read outside of school growing up. I picked books and I read whatever I felt like it outside of school. Reading in school did not give me a love of reading. Someone else picking books for me to read did not give me a love of reading. And so we need to pick our own books. Students, adults, anyone and everyone needs to pick their own book that they enjoy and read it. That's how a love of reading forms. And reading is reading, and it does not matter what you're reading as long as you're reading. So if you have this attitude where I am better because I read this kind of book, no, you're not. And you need to stop. You need to stop with that attitude, because all you're doing is pushing people away from this awesome hobby. I think reading is so beneficial. It teaches you so much. You get to experience things you never would experience in real life. You get to walk in someone else's shoes. Reading actually makes people more empathetic. And if people aren't reading, they're not getting those benefits. And so you're just creating a worse world, in my opinion, if you're pushing people away from reading because you think you're better and you think everyone should read a certain kind of book. It's not right. I am all for reading freedom. We just got done with Banned Books Week, and the theme this year was Freed Between the Lines, and it ended with Let Freedom Read Day. We need to take those things and not just celebrate it during Banned Books Week, but we need to celebrate reading freedom all the time. And if someone tells you that they're better than you because they read something and you don't, just ignore them. They're just being annoying. Honestly, just ignore them. Just let them talk and just ignore them. Just be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go read what I like. That's what you need to do. So this has kind of been my public service announcement, but I just needed to get it out there because I see it so often and I hate it. And I really love the community on BookTube because overall, majority of people on BookTube are super, super nice. But it's out in the real world off of BookTube where I see this most often and I don't like it. And I just had to give my 2 cents. No one is better than you because they read something different than you. You are not better than someone else because you read something and they didn't. So just read what you like. Life is too short to read books you hate. I would hate reading if I had to do that. So yeah, read what you like, ignore the haters, and let's all have fun. That's what this whole thing is about. This is a hobby. It should be fun. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you have a lovely week. Hit like and subscribe. Thanks for talking books with me.